This is a meeting of the Finance Committee in Monterey, starting at 4:02 p.m. on the 21st of March, 2023. Okay. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Michelle. I hope you had as good time in Mexico as we.
Wait, sorry, I got confused. Go ahead. Yes,
Okay,
I did. I
Okay,
had a fabulous time.
good. All right, so there's a couple things I learned last week, and it was, because of the weather, and I just decided to drive up there. I didn't, hold on one second. Mark, can you shut the door? Because you hear all the traffic. But one is they're looking at finance options on, they had the bank come in and give them a presentation. He gave 4 options. 2 of them were large down payments and financial stuff. 2 of them were minimal down payments and finance options. I'm not sure what the combination they were going to use. There were several options, but apparently he didn't prepare one of the options right, so he's supposed to come back, and I think it'll be this week that they will talk about it more. I think, one of the issues is on the select board is that, I watched a video, maybe the select board meeting a few weeks ago, and, I think that, Scott believes that, that they have enough information, it's select board making the decisions. So, and the other thing that came up there was that they reopened, do they buy a truck for the Department of Works? Scott, his reasoning was that there's a lot of capital needs for next year, and we should probably maybe think about doing it this year. I'm not sure. They're going to discuss it more. My thought is that, I wouldn't do it this year. We haven't vetted next year. It's not going to make a big difference if we do it this year, that year. And I think most people know that, the truck's not worn out,
Is that the truck that he had to repair?
Well, he just
No.
sent you guys an email about
Oh,
it.
so
It's the one that Jim uses. It's not the one of the F-550s. It's the Chevrolet 1-ton pickup.
okay.
It is 5 years old, but it doesn't have high mileage on it. He does do some snow plowing with it.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is we may be at odds with the select board in terms of whether we
Well,
recommend that action
yeah.
be taken.
Yes, I think so. And I mean, I think, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think they're moving on to make decisions. I don't know what else about the budget. I haven't looked at all the finance stuff, so I don't have enough information to talk about it intelligently.
Let me ask, so is this the truck that he was talking about where
No,
No.
that was the one we bought last year.
okay, so this is the one we're not buying this year?
No, there's no truck in here this year because you all had taken it out. And now the select board are deciding whether they're going to put it back in.
Okay,
If it goes back in, it'll be $78,000.
Right. So that's,
and that
Melissa,
is,
do you,
he had the repairs done on.
Let me pull up his email because
What's the temperature down there, Frank?
it's beautiful. It's in the 70s, but yesterday morning when I got up, it was 37. It's supposed to be hit 80 tomorrow. So
That'll just make it easier for you to come back.
Yeah, really.
So then, and then the tractor is not in here anymore either.
The tractor was under Chapter 90, right?
Oh, that's right. Oh,
With the new militia.
oh, hold on, we're in the middle of something.
So he says that the issues this year totaled roughly $24.50. Rot and the effects of heavy use in the salt environment is starting to show. They've already cut one running board off a few weeks ago as it was rotted and not safe to stand on. The other side's not far behind. The issue of most concern is the truck on the following year, because they are just at over 13,600 in repairs this year on that one. And after this week's weather, it's headed back to the dealer. So we need to get at least one more winter out of this, and he's not feeling good about that. If the Chevrolet is pushed off until next year, there will be 2 up for replacement next year, and you can expect to spend well over $200,000.
Yeah, it will be, I think it'll be what it will be. Well, when they get vetted, we'll need the trucks. But,
What do you mean when they get vetted? I mean,
well, I mean, obviously there'll be a different select board. You don't know the delivery, I know that Sean wants a fire truck. You don't know the delivery of that time frame, and then the other capital needs that will come up.
Okay, I'm gonna interject an idea here, which is that we go through the thing before, like during this meeting, and highlight the things that we say no to, if we can, that consensus, so that then we can just go yay or nay to the select board when
Okay.
they. So do you want to start with the special articles? And it sounds to me like you're saying nay on the adding back in the $78,000 truck that was in
Yeah,
there.
that's
Yeah.
accurate. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's,
You want to add it back in.
Yeah, I think that the timeline is
Okay.
going to be a problem next year.
So you got to be the tiebreaker.
am I gonna be the tiebreaker? Well, I say let's add it back in until we have to take it back out.
Pardon me with that? Well, I didn't hear.
I said,
Is
let's
Eileen there
let it
now?
back in until we have to take it back out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the hourglass method, right?
So for right
That's the
now,
hourglass. I think that's
2 to
the,
1 support it, putting him.
And as you know, Frank, this is not the last moment anyway, because you can stand up in town meeting and say, hold,
Mhm.
which is what we'll be doing, no doubt, more than once this year. So let's just, the first thing that caught my eye is that at this point, they're not thinking of anything in the stabilization fund. And Eileen,
I have notes. I just want to.
you have what? Oh,
I have some notes I want to look at.
okay, so Eileen has some thoughts on that, but she's looking up, and what do you say on that? The
Oh, me?
original, yeah, you, the original budget had 50,000 in.
That's
There-
right.
Hi, Frank.
How you doing, Eileen?
I'm okay. So stabilization is the reserve account for future spending of emergencies and capital, right?
Right.
And what did we didn't use it at all this year, right? And what about last year? I think we did,
I can't
But
remember.
not a high number, I'm remembering.
Can I have a dog biscuit,
I
please?
wish I had one. Oh, he won't leave him alone in this weather, you know? And their thinking is like that. We didn't spend it this year. We have money in the reserve fund.
They haven't really discussed it. I think Justin's been the only one to really say anything, and he wants to build it back up.
Right. And what's the balance of it now?
Right, it's a high balance. That's right.
607, 297 is the general.
Thank you.
How much?
Well, that was the last, as of 12/30, 607,297.
Well, that shouldn't really have changed.
Right.
No,
Minimum.
I'm
Yeah,
just saying
so
that,
I say we leave it at 0.
and let it,
I think you need to, I don't have a problem with the 50,000 in there. I think that, we know next year we're gonna have a lot of capital needs, and you just sort of, before I go buy a truck, I would take the money and put it in stabilization.
Because we can always take it, well, my concern about the truck is that it's gonna die, then we're gonna have to go to town meeting.
The truck, that truck is not the F-550. That truck is that he commutes to and
Okay.
from work. He used it for some snow plowing. And when he met with the joint
I have to go
meeting
through,
with,
Frank, I trust you.
so it's not one of those trucks that I don't, you know, it's an everyday commuter car for him. He uses it from some snow plowing. I don't, you know, to me, it's low 50,000 miles. He said he had it at the GMC dealer late in the fall and it checked out. He had some minor work done to it. So
Okay.
I have a different question though on the stabilization.
I think that you put
Let me ask about 50,000. We don't have a full crosswalk of stabilization to what we can use that chapter 90 fund and the capital plan, right? Like we haven't done a full, like, what does it take to fully fund?
well, I think you add another question is, you know, that the select board is also talking about doing some financing because they're talking to the bank about the options. What are some of the options? And they didn't, you know, I should have mailed out. I got Justin or Susan mailed it to me, you know, the financial sheets, and it starts showing you this could be the total interest and stuff like that. I don't know,
Mhm.
Melissa, has the banker come back with anything that he had a number wrong last week, so he was
They're
supposed to
meeting
come,
tomorrow.
but he hasn't sent anything out, right?
Yes, he
As
sent
of yet.
something today.
Could you send it out to the finance committee so the three of us have it?
Sure.
Okay.
So the last we said about that was line 700, can we restructure and you're getting options? Is that right?
Mhm.
That's line 700.
Yeah,
So I guess,
they did, all those numbers then did come down in the most.
right. So I guess I'm okay with 50,000, but I'm still saying, Frank, and I think you're kind of agreeing with me that that's part of a picture that we have to look at together about what all is available for
Mhm.
those large things.
Right.
So I'll just put that on our list as, you know, holistic view of stabilization fund, debt service, capital budget, right? Capital request,
Yeah.
capital,
This number.
and title, what's
is
those 90,
relates
chapter
to
90,
sum
right?
Total from this number?
So you're saying, you're ballparking, Frank, that you think it's not going to be enough. So yeah, let's add 50, but we don't know the exact number until we do that whole work and finish all of the other things.
Yeah, I think they need on the capital, I know there's other items being
Okay, so
discussed.
this is the total of.
They need to cross their Ts
Oh,
and dot their Is and then take a look at all the
Right.
funds.
See, the
Okay.
rest of the
So I'm
special
going to leave that
articles
on our
have to be
to-do, but
funded
I'm fine with
through
50,000.
borrowing or stabilization. So we could take some of it out of stabilization.
You could.
Right. So I think the idea, and we'll see how far we are for balancing, of putting 50 in, and then just like we said, until we have to take it out, like the idea of building that back up until we can do a fuller analysis of stabilization, debt service, full capital, you know, when we agree on the capital plan and what chapter 90 can go to and what our shortfall is. That's really what we
By
need.
tomorrow.
No, we might not be able to do that. So put the, yeah, but what do you mean? 10 more minutes, Frank. What are you working on over there?
All right, so, you know, it's always like this little shell game, really, of, so basically the special articles are covered by $320,000 from free cash and $365,000 from borrowing.
And the borrowing, just because I don't know the history, has been like the town historically, that's just how we finance that portion of the budget. I mean, is there a reason we borrow some? And I'm just curious, and,
I think
you know,
this one's just proposed as borrowing because of the large amount and no one wants to take it out of stabilization.
Right, but should we take part of it out of stabilization?
I think when you look at the proposal from the banker, he's given you options about taking large down payments and then options on how you want to finance it. I think it's like you have to get everything on the table
right,
and understand the number, and then you can say, let's minimize, you know, the amount we borrow. Let's put, you know, take 250,000 out of stabilization. You know,
I guess it's all going to, I mean, we can't really talk theoreticals until we see this.
Until you have a final budget.
right.
Well, no,
yeah,
until we
yeah,
see
that's pretty
all of
much it. They have the final votes on capitalization, so until
So so Frank, you're also saying, like, if we look at it this, like, we know that but revenue has to equal expense, but you're also saying like the size of the pie changes if like our whole pie and what we have in reserve, we can show it somehow. I can think of a way to show it. Like if how much is debt service calculated at now? Finances? Line 700.
155, 950.
So right now, financing is at 155, 950. And this budget assumes that we're not doing any tax relief. We're not doing any give back. So like, that's kind of, the kind of questions that we want to be able to explain why that decision was made. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. So if this would be like boxes.
Yeah. I like the way you're thinking about it, Michelle. Yeah, something like that.
Because there's stabilization, there's free cash, and there's borrowing.
Right.
Mhm. That's
And
right.
what we
That's
put
what I'm saying.
each thing into and move it from one box to the other or eliminate it altogether
Has
is going to tell us what the tax
correct.
burden will
That's
be.
what I'm thinking.
Right. And whether we need to pare things back in any additional ways. Did you ever find out whether the Green Park ball field is going to be used of Conservation Commission funds?
Oh, good
I'm
question.
hopefully meeting with her on Friday.
And in this budget, Frank, the cruiser and the radios are back in.
Right. I understood the select board decided that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we have a lot of other,
Well, yeah, the Med 9 vehicle that could have been 2 vehicles, and were we only going to support 1 additional vehicle at this time?
We're still waiting to hear what Sean's proposing.
So yeah, nobody, as of last Wednesday, nobody knew what he was going to ask for.
and the select board did take up the zoning issue, right? About the more expenses for people, the new vehicle for the narrow.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to build out there, they're going to have to pay.
Right, so that's in the works, Melissa, do you know?
They're sending out a letter. I don't believe they're doing anything with zoning.
So they're sending out a letter that says this is what you have to.
They're saying, yeah, basically you won't get services or.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fair too. But it's not like we have to buy a truck to fit their driveways. We're not funding. Better. Okay,
Well,
that's good.
but it seemed as though as I understood it, we could get away with just buying 1 truck.
I think that option was talked about at one time. It seems like when Sean had the meeting with us, he talked about a Tahoe and then a specialized fire vehicle. The Tahoe would be won't be very easy, but it'll come sooner than the other vehicle. So we still don't know what the time frame is if we said 2 vehicles anyway, that I know of.
Well, I thought that perhaps getting 1 vehicle and keeping the vehicle that we have would cover all the bases until we could add in a second vehicle that was the med truck, because the truck that we have is a med truck, is it not? Yeah.
I can't follow the fire department stuff. I'm sorry. It's one thing I really.
Well, you should get on board.
I just,
That's
I just, Frank.
Not until you need it.
Yeah, not so, no, I'm saying I just, I just really don't understand the different trucks and what they do, and
Well, you're just not a gearhead,
Yeah.
And well, there are a lot of trucks, and there's 2 or 3 of them that are very similar. So it does get very confusing, and honestly, I haven't been able to follow them all. Trying to spend time with Sean has been difficult.
Well, here's another just question that I have. So on the line for Med 9 vehicle, i.e. 2 vehicles, 365,000, that is all the borrowing. So if you reduce that amount, then you're talking about
Half that amount, but we have some old borrowing at 700.
no, if you look at the top where it says total of special articles borrowing,
Where am I? Oh,
It's
Uh,
mostly the library and the
that's
tandem
what I'm saying. It's
axle.
not just the things. That's the
Well, no,
other.
but I'm just saying that the amount requested by the fire company for these two vehicles is the same amount of the borrowing.
Right.
If you didn't borrow
know.
for those vehicles, or if you borrowed less for those vehicles, that's not the same as the debt
But-
service.
wait,
Oh,
let
it's
me just-
different than the.
Right.
Okay.
So this is just
Michelle,
permission to borrow. So the payment for this wouldn't be on until we actually take delivery of the vehicle.
yeah,
So likely not until fiscal year 25.
yeah.
Right,
So
but
it gets confusing, because of the wait time. The other thing that's come up that I understand, but I don't have a lot of information on, there was something about the missed tandem axle truck payment or something. Is that put in our financial picture for this coming year? Melissa?
we've got 50,000, that's in
Yeah,
debt.
but I'm talking about this year. Something happened. I don't understand at all that we didn't make that payment. The treasurer didn't make that payment or something.
So they made the payment. They just didn't put all of the monies that were appropriated toward it because, and I'm gonna get the figures wrong here, $200,000 was requested to borrow and approved. Jim did not use all of the money, but they had already borrowed 200,000. So the 30,000 that was left over that he didn't use was put toward as the payment instead of adding the
minimum payment.
50,000 that we also had appropriated.
It was that a
Okay.
contract or whatever the agreement was? Sometimes you get penalized for that.
No, we're always allowed to overpay and stuff.
Okay.
So in other
Right.
words,
So there's
we,
50,000 sitting, and I actually have to confirm it's 50,000. There's money sitting there right now that can't be put toward the payment because we've already made the payment. So it's likely from my conversations with the accountant that that's going to go back to free cash.
50,000?
I have to confirm the number, but it's at
Oh,
least
that's a horrible way to get free cash, but yeah, I get it.
a mistake was made. There was a lot
Yeah.
of confusion about
Right,
what
that's-
was
Well,
supposed
that's
to be.
a lot of free cash is mistakes.
all right, so tell me it's 50,000 is going to
No,
go.
I don't know that.
You
I want to
don't know.
confirm the number, but
Okay.
it's possibly 50,000.
But that gives us more money in free
What's-
cash, right?
Right,
No,
but
it does not. It gives you more money in fiscal year 25
Five.
for free cash.
25.
a year
Okay,
later it has to be
25.
over.
Well, that's still, if you get a fire truck in 25,
right,
50,000.
so I think I think it's the same decision really, no matter how it's financed, because it's not a budget hit this year, it's just a
Right.
budget authority. So, I mean, Frank, you've really been the one digging into this. What is your position? Are you waiting to meet with Sean, or what do you need?
I
you
think
know-
we need more information from Sean. I think there's some of it is, I would say to Sean, I know people are not going to want to hear this. If he's coming to us in the 12th hour to do this, let's get information, then have a special town meeting to vote on it later in the fall or something like that. I know
Just
people don't like that, but we shouldn't be rushed to make that $300 and some $1,000 investment without some conversation and that, feedback.
He's
I mean, I don't know where he is on getting that.
I might be like, I call it Goldilocksing, meaning I'm trespassing in someone else's house, right? We forget she's not in our house. So is that a select board decision that because a town meeting, I see it every time it costs $1,000 to have a town meeting, right? Which is money that can go to Green Park or the ball field. So is that we're basically, so should we put, in that case, money in for additional town meetings in the line? You see what I'm saying? If we're
Yeah.
gonna make a decision like that and punt, I think we should budget for it.
I don't have a problem. It's not a horrible amount of money, but I think,
So Melissa, can we do that? Can we add the $1,000 to the town meeting line with a little note that fire decision or?
Yeah, let's wait to see if everybody agrees that it's coming out.
Then
He
we don't
was
have to worry
supposed
about it.
He was supposed to have something to me today or tomorrow. So if he doesn't, I imagine the select board may say the same thing,
All right, so I just want to make
What-
sure if we do punt, we just put in the money for a town meeting instead of having to take that out of reserve or, streamline your budget, right?
Although we do plan for 2 meetings. We always plan that there's going to be a special town
Yeah,
meeting.
this year there was 3.
You're right. But
So-
if it was planned
I can
properly,
count that.
if it was planned properly, we would only have one in the fall,
Right, I just, what I'm trying to do is just show that
Yep.
decisions cost other things. So like, it, you know what I mean?
no, I
Like
know.
You're
there's an,
speaking to the choir.
right, but let's quantify it
No,
in
I
the
just-
budget,
yes.
right, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so so as a finance committee, what are we saying about the fire truck delay? Or more
We need
information?
more information or delay,
I don't
delay
think
it to,
that we should fund $365,000 worth of truck for the fire company this year on, no. I mean, I could see funding one, but I think two would be
So,
not okay.
so our position is more information and maybe one.
And is there, like, does Sean need help? I mean,
Yes.
with bookkeeping
So
and,
I have asked him and
And
he's,
so have I, and you know, he wants me to data enter the.
the problem is that anyone
data
that
enter.
helps him, he still needs to give the time because he needs to show them
right,
what to
yeah,
do.
I know what.
I've
that
told
is.
him 1,000 times that he has all these firemen up there and they know what needs to be done. They should be kicking him.
Well,
The
the thing
senior
is,
staff on there, but apparently
yeah, I
that's
mean,
not
it's
happening.
gonna become, I think, more and more of an issue as,
I think where it's
as these-
going is it's gonna be some kind of regionalization plan at some point with a full-time person.
doing
Um,
bookkeeping.
No, a full-time chief or some kind of,
Ugh.
within the next, I'd say probably 1 to 3 years, that's gonna be.
Well, that was on his
I
list
mean,
too,
the
the fire.
yeah,
chief for
but
every-
when we had the budget meeting with Sean, I asked him about the regionalization. He said he didn't think it would happen because of the politics of it.
Oh, I thought he
No.
said something different.
Right, so he's working with, I believe, 2 other towns, and I'm not gonna say them because I can't remember which ones they are, on having a administrative regionalization,
But-
and then working from there about.
Right, but I think he's hoping we are the heads of it, like he wants to be the hub. He's
Well-
not just doesn't want regionalization, he wants to run it, is what I understood.
I don't know that he wants to run it.
Well, he
but-
wants right, he wants Monterey, he
He
thinks
wants
we're
to-
positioned.
Right,
Did you
and I
get that
agree,
too?
I agree with him
Yeah.
that we are
Yeah, so
positioned.
that's what I heard, Frank.
But
So
we can't-
that would not
free
surprise
anymore.
me. I mean, I've never
Free.
discussed it with him, but it would never surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
So can I bring us back
You can
to,
drink.
no, I will later. But can I bring us back to some kind of checking things off as we go? All right, so how about fire company capital improvements and expenses at 30,000?
So this was another one, we needed more information. There was some deal with someone who said they get this amount every year, but we don't know what's been done. And I
Well,
think we need to get to the baseline of that.
what there is that his lease, when Ken was the select board president, he signed a
Chair.
lease with Sean. The lease has since expired and it's month to month. In there was a few things that mentioned would provide capital improvement money. We have voted the last 2 years on warrants, giving him $30,000 each year. And based on looking at the financials myself, it doesn't look like he has spent any of that money. And he's
No,
asking
because he-
for,
We stopped.
He's saving it up because the
Stop funding.
projects, right, the projects that they have to do cost well over $100,000.
So this is in effect my problem with this thing we were talking about before on the capital budget, the stabilization. We should have all of these things together because now he's using expense money, which it's all our tax dollars, but it could be a capital project and financed differently. So maybe it should, now if it's over $100,000, it meets that criteria.
See,
You know
But
what
the
I
way
mean?
that this was set up, see, and I'm gonna get it wrong, I think, is that 30, when they did the addition up there, the firemen were giving their pay. Mickey, correct me if you can remember. They were giving their pay and it totaled $30,000 to pay the mortgage. I believe it was John Silbert that heard about that and said, absolutely no way. The firemen need to get paid. We will give $30,000 a year because that building will eventually become ours and we should be
Oh, when is
maintaining
that?
it.
When is that? When is that?
If they ever go bad on their mortgage or they decide they don't want to be a fire company anymore, we get the building.
Without paying for it?
Correct.
But now we're paying for it.
Well, we're paying for it because it's housing our vehicles. Everything that's in that building is ours, the town's.
I think it's lovely that they wanted to pay for it, but I think that if that is the case, and that decision was made, and that's in fact what we're doing, it shouldn't necessarily, I don't know if it's a mortgage or it's 100,000 for the things, it should be looked at differently as a capital project, even though they own the building. If because it could be different funds, maybe we can get a grant. I don't know.
So,
Frank,
there's no doubt that we should help them do what they want.
Right.
You know, you can do this bookkeeping the way you want. I would feel comfortable if he came and said, you know, I need $110,000. Here are the 6 things that will cover, and then you appropriate the money then, versus putting $30,000 on the books
I agree.
every year.
Right,
Every
or-
year.
so I think the problem with that is we don't own the building, so we can't appropriate for a capital project. This is essentially, the deal was essentially like us paying the mortgage. Am I recalling this
Yeah,
correct?
Yes, but
I-
if we're paying the mortgage, where is the 30,000 coming from that he's stockpiling?
it's coming, I take it, it's coming, it's on the warrant,
Right,
and
it
I
was-
don't know, if that means the money is stuck
Give to
somewhere
them
on the
for-
financial.
But then it
the-
says we're
the-
paying the
but-
mortgage. It needs to be cleaned up.
Right, because
whatever it
they paid off the mortgage, so this was the arrangement
I
that it was
understand,
made.
Melissa, but this is what I'm saying. You might have all the specifics. There might be some new light. We're trying to clean it up. I think we need to understand it to figure out what, because we'd be comfortable with a different arrangement.
Right, but I'm telling you, the different arrangement can't be done because it can't be a capital project when we don't own the building.
Why? We can gift it to them. It's our right to give
No,
it.
you
Well,
can't.
well,
It's not, it's not,
you can't, you
Anti-
can't.
There's anti,
it's not that easy because he's a nonprofit and we can't be given, I think it's something like, you've
right.
got to
Well,
go into
we can't
local.
do donation.
This is the way it's set up. We already vetted through council at the time, and this was the way that it was recommended to be done.
It seems so circuitous.
Well, I think the main problem is that we need an accounting of what is in the
So
account
there's
exactly.
60,000 in there right now.
There's
Okay.
60, you can go,
Years, money.
Michelle, you can go to the financial sheets and it'll tell you it's there and there's been no money spent on it.
Yes,
Which
so the year-
financial
The year
sheet?
before, he spent it.
I got it
It was
at home. I could tell you which one it is and what page. it
Now
is.
he's got
Okay.
the floor up there, the radiant heat in the floor needs to be done. I believe there's duct work that needs to be done.
I could use radiant heat.
Well, no, they have to have it because of the.
I know, I understand. It keeps
Okay.
it reading.
So
I'm just
then
saying.
they need an exhaust system for, which right now I think they're not in compliance by not having it because of the fumes that come out when the trucks are started in there. I can't remember if the roof is one of them. They need a kitchen in there.
They
What
have
happened to the
kitchen.
kitchen?
They don't have a full kitchen in there.
So
Why do they need a
not
full
to,
kitchen?
not
Because
to,
the people are staying there.
not to
Oh,
open
that's-
up a can
They don't
of
have an
worms,
oven and a refrigerator?
Sure, they got a
Excuse me.
refrigerator, that's it.
not to open
Oh,
a
I
can
thought
of
they had a
worms,
stove.
but this goes under the thing that we keep on talking about that came up with the community center and the parks, that even though they don't, they
Quasis.
quasis, and what is their capital plan? Like what, how did you build it without an exhaust, without the, like,
Well,
you
the
know,
community center is actually owned by the town.
right, but you
So
know
it's
what I'm
not
saying,
quasi. I
right?
just want to clarify.
Yeah, you're right. But it's the same thing about kind of these, even if they're off budget funds, that they need some help. It's not about overseeing. It's really like Frank's saying, we want them to do it, but they need someone else looking at it to help them to think through that has some experience in it, because that's not their expertise, although half of them are builders. So what do you know? So I don't know
Well,
how we approach this.
I don't think that it's a situation that's going to be changed anytime soon, and certainly not before the budget. But if we don't feel
Right, I'm just
that,
saying on the long
no,
term.
yeah, you've got that list going, right?
Well, we-
Melissa, on the 30,000, is that, when you do a warrant, do they take that from the general fund and just set it aside? Is
Yeah,
it
it's-
money that's,
It's in a special article. So
Yeah.
So it's in a special fund?
it's with all the monies, but it's set aside on paper for them.
So 30
okay,
special
all right.
article means that it's not,
It-
what does it mean exactly?
It's not part of the regular operating budget. So usually it's something,
Okay.
that's a,
So
special.
here's a
Yeah.
question. So, okay, they have 60,000, they want 30, that would be 90, that they're saving for projects that cost X, X, X. So the town isn't putting it out to bid because it's not a town capital project, but
which
who's,
saves you a bunch of money.
right,
Right.
but who oversees
That's my question.
the bidding, the
There is no
awarding?
bidding.
No, that's the problem for the fire company because don't they have to for their own due diligence?
Well, I would hope that they're doing due diligence and picking the lowest.
Well, all I'm saying is, what's the
My
mechanism?
head
Yeah,
is,
but
You know,
my
I mean,
head's spinning.
What's the mechanism for oversight? It's like, that's what
That's
I
my
mean about
question.
quasi.
That's
Like with
my
the Parks
question.
Commission and the Community Center, it's the same
That's my
situation.
exact
I
question.
can tell you when they did the railing, they got several quotes for it.
Yeah.
And he went with
The one he felt was
the
the
most
best one.
responsive and
Right.
responsible bidder.
So at
And I say
that
bidder,
point,
usually just he got
he
quotes.
submits an invoice for the work done and the treasurer makes the payment.
Yes.
And then the invoice goes to the town or the fire company.
The invoice goes to the fire company. And I believe with the last one, they paid it and we paid them back, I think, but I'd have to double check on that.
So can I ask you just a question? Operational question. So basically, if I go through these 4 pages, right? Same thing I have here, and is there a way, or is that in the budget by detail, that I can look at everything that we give to the fire department?
Well, if you go to the fire department tab, you'll see it broken out,
Right,
but
and
it's
this,
totaled on the proposed budget sheet on that one.
but here, right, so on the fire department, here we have several like 200, so it's 200 to 221, right?
Mhm.
And then we have special articles, right? I'm just curious what the real total is, not just on the budget.
Well, so if you go to the fire department tab in the budget worksheet, you'll see the real total.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I just don't have it open. What,
are you trying to see what they're budgeting or what they've spent?
I'm trying to see what % of our budget they are.
Well, there's also an increase one.
Well, that they're, they budget about 125, 129,000 in labor. 60, they're asking for 66,000 in maintenance. And then they have like phone service,
Wait, sorry, 226.
226, 961.18 is their total operational
budget. About half of it's labor, right?
special articles.
Plus special articles, and then
Which is
they have a budget that they spend, right? Or just. this is
You
it?
mean in-house budget,
Yeah,
funds,
They,
yeah.
they pay for their utilities up there.
So.
Yeah,
and
we
that-
pay $1,400 a month and we give them rental. It's like 14.
That's included in the budget. So basically this 226, if you round it up to 230 is about right for like what they pay, what we pay and we pay for the fire department. And do we have any idea of how that stacks up against other fire departments of similar size? And does that not include the debt service on anything?
It doesn't include the debt service.
But there
There's
is no
debt service.
payments
There
right
is
now
no
on-
payments with the mortgage paid off. And
No,
there's
No,
no truck
We don't have,
approved.
we didn't do the right there. The truck was paid off last year.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, so where are we at? Are we going through, it looks like I've got a green line through the stabilization fund appropriation, one through the capital, fire company capital
wait,
improvement.
I thought stabilization, we said 50.
Well, all I'm saying, I didn't know we came up with a
Oh, oh.
number. Frank, are you into 50?
Frank suggested.
50 would sound reasonable because we got big ticket items coming next year.
Okay, so then the next one is the fire company capital. Are we yay or nay on the 30?
We are yay because there is a promise to do it, but it's on our agenda to review it, to make sure it's done the best way, to make sure if things are piling up that there's,
Okay,
right?
so then we've got resurface the ballpark. We are hopeful that,
Wait, what about milfoil? We just agree with that, right?
oh, well, what are you gonna do with
Yeah.
milfoil,
Get those robots. Have you read about those?
Yeah, I don't want them in my town.
The robotics underwater, I think they sound great.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm not
Uh,
going in the lake. Let's just start there.
Oh, so anyway, resurface Green Park, we're hoping to get funding from,
Yeah, I'm meeting with the Concom this Friday, so.
Oh, right, that would be great.
dun, 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 dun,
Police
dun.
radios, we agreed. Police
Yeah.
cruiser, we agreed.
Yeah.
New copier is off.
The next
Uh,
green line is through the Med 9 vehicle for the fire company, and we're all in agreement on
That's a
that.
hold, basically.
Yeah. And then the feasibility study, I just put a green line through there because why, I don't know.
Well,
Well,
That should definitely be there. over.
Well,
many-
they're,
That expensive.
Melissa, you may know something.
and that was counted out.
Justin said something in the meeting last week. He was waiting for something from Jim on repairs or replacement.
He wants to add more money to the budget to fix what immediately needs to be fixed. So Jim has sent me a list. We're gonna go over it tomorrow to see if he and I agree. Because right
And
now.
what items were that?
My God.
What's on his list? Well, digitizing
Well,
the
on
record.
Justin's list was siding and painting, and that was it. I think Jim brought up the floors, the heating, the siding, painting, the roof.
When's the last time I painted?
20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's ever been painted while I was here. I don't think it
How long you been here?
was.
20
I'll be
years.
going on 18 years.
Hi.
It's
Jewish,
never been
good luck.
power washed either, so
Yeah, I was gonna get
That's
a
in
broom
his-
and wipe off the.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I think they should just
No.
put vinyl siding on.
Oh,
You don't have
no,
to worry
that's the
about-
worst thing in the world is vinyl
They
siding.
have, why? All you do is power wash it. You don't have to paint it.
Oh,
They
never
have
mind.
ones that look
I
like.
won't get into
clapboard.
that, right, Frank?
All right.
Yeah,
So what do we think about the feasibility study? We only had one bid. That's what we know it costs. That's the number.
yeah, but I think what Justin was saying, there was a question is, do you put money in for general repairs or do the feasibility study?
So at the meeting, I
Both.
think we talked it right. We told them you need both
Uh-huh.
because the
And what was
feasibility.
the
was
select
going-
board's position?
I don't think they agreed.
Yeah,
For me? Oh. Okay, you can either stick it in the mailbox or I'll stop in to see you before I leave, okay? I don't think they agreed, and Scott's not gonna be here for the next 2 weeks, and
God.
Oh, so then they could vote without him.
they can, but I think the two that are at odds are
Oh,
Susan
so
and.
there's no Michelle, there's no tiebreaker.
All right, so in other words, we're gonna weigh in on yes to the feasibility study.
I think
and-
so, and I
I
don't
hate
know,
saying yes, but I'll go with the flow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be done, and consultants make a lot of money
Right.
for a reason.
At the very least, you put that amount in and
One
then we
good
see
client
if
a
we
year,
can
I'm done.
make.
You
get
got
a
it.
lower quote or something, you know, but
Yeah.
at least you know.
I
that-
think what you do is you put X amount of dollars in for town hall, and then you decide how much of it goes mechanical or whatever, or consultant or something. Try not to do it all right now, I mean, but I think you do put some money, you define some of it later. You know, we're not gonna be defining it all in 2 weeks
I-
because of if you're waiting on what's it gonna cost to do the heating system or something like that.
I also wonder, and I'm sure you've been down this road, if there are any pro bono services for that. You know, like I know, like as nonprofits, like, you know, firms would come in and say, here's how to maximize your space, or there are certain foundations that actually help do that. So I'm wondering, like, if we checked with like the Association of Municipal Counties, like a national org or anything, because there might be someone like maybe, I hate to say
A
it,
graduate student intern.
yeah,
who's
someone
gonna
that needs
come in.
hours.
If
No,
you
I'm,
know of somebody, send them. my
yeah,
way.
well, I'm just saying, so if we could find some resources, I could check. What? But what's his name? Bobo, I don't care.
All right, so let's bring it back around because,
That is one, I have an idea. I think we should call United Way and ask them, I have an idea of how to get someone.
all right, so we're back to the budget. So,
But I like that
Do
idea.
you-
So how much we put in?
yeah,
If we're
that's
doing both the,
the feasibility study and current
and he's saying
repairs.
89,
Well,
so,
but him and I need to go over the list because I don't
yeah,
agree with
so I
him that
mean,
everything needs to
so
be done
50,
this
so
year
at least 25, 30, right?
for the repairs, probably.
Yeah, so 50, so 80. I'm just, you know what Senator Dirksen said, $1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon you're spending a lot of money. Throw it out there.
All right, so, I think, so we decide, okay, but that has to be reviewed. All right, I think,
But how much, Michelle?
what's that?
How much would you put in that line for both?
Oh,
it'll be
I
two
wrote
separate
down
lines.
80K.
Yeah, all right, I could go with 80.
So if we add 50 there and take away 365 there, well, let's take away two there.
And the shared manager we took away because,
And actually, let me add for the town hall repairs, what I'm looking at doing is there is a special article that we've been carrying forward from year to year. I think that has about $26,000 in it. That was for the highway siding and painting, and I can't get that done. So I'm looking at transferring that at town meeting to cover the repairs. So we wouldn't have to raise another
Mhm.
30,000.
That's a good suggestion.
That's budget neutral, I like it.
But meanwhile, the highway department is still,
Well, the quotes, he can't find a vendor, but he found one that possibly has a solution, but it isn't gonna be anywhere near 20,
it's gonna be 100.
probably.
and what, he needs his shed rebuilt?
Well, no,
The
but
highway
it's
garage needs
been
to be
totally,
It's
re-sided,
just siding on the shed.
metal siding though.
Yeah.
okay, so, I don't have anything more. I think all the operating budget items we've been
Pretty good at.
over.
Let me just see. Health insurance was changed. We didn't do the insurance inventory. Did we put more money in the insurance line?
More money was put in the insurance line.
How
yes.
much more?
Where is that? That
It's in the
is
900s.
900.
$11,177 more.
Oh, that's a lot. That's good. That's about the amount we spent in the, okay.
I'm sorry,
The
actually,
sick,
it's more
the
than
sick
that.
time issue was, hey, the sick time issue was resolved, right?
May I
Sick
ask
time.
how that's resolved and how that's been taken care of?
Yes, you may.
How it's been resolved?
It's in the budget.
We put the money in the budget. I'm pretty sure, I can't speak for the select board, but what I think they did was they looked at the positions that had fixed hours, so they couldn't make them up. And that's who they allocated it for.
Right.
And they,
So they're having a spread.
and it's the same as the state policy.
Is it a separate line item for 16?
No, it's gonna
And
be added
everybody's-
into the, but a new group of employees that have fixed hours are being added to that pot of money.
It's just being added to the current wages in there,
Yeah.
as is holiday, and we are still waiting on a revised budget from Mark to include holiday pay.
Oh, so if you can get that. But but part-time sick benefits was voted on and corrected, which is big news.
How many holidays are there?
35.
So I believe there's 12, but he's gonna have to look to see if it matches their current schedule.
What do you mean? What do you mean if it matches their current?
Well, like, say,
Opening days,
if
right.
Mickey only,
Ramadan.
if Mickey only works Tuesdays and there's no holidays on a Tuesday, she wouldn't have any added to her
So
budget.
So you're doing it just on like for this year?
Right.
Okay. And I think it works out quite well, I think, because most of the holidays are Mondays, that's Mark's Day.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
And
He's
and a lot of
salaried.
other people got,
And the
got
rest of
sick
them, I
pay
think
too.
There was like Thanksgiving and maybe 4th of July, I think those may have been the only two.
And what did we decide with the Parks Department? Oh, we're waiting to hear from the ball field from the Concom. And where are we on the proposal and all that?
You mean the fact that they've got a playground that nobody's had a chance to speak about?
Right.
No,
It's not in this budget.
I know.
It's not in the budget. Okay. So that's
But they
done.
better not come back and
What
looking
about
for
the
more money.
library's electricity rate? Are we dealing with that or we're not in terms of expenses? I just got my new rate. Thank you very much from the aggravator.
Aggravator.
Aggravator. But can I tell you, like $500 less? I mean, it was incredible.
But I don't know if
What
they
do you
did
think?
anything with electric. I mean, it's
You guys
not gonna
paid-
change the number significantly.
I know, I thought the library was significant.
I thought
No,
it was,
but I mean, the question is, does that same rate apply for all the electricity the town buys?
We have it on
I
a
don't-
long-term issue.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
well, we all got notices that our rate, our electrical rate is going down.
No, that's in the budget. When we looked at your budget.
We
your
looked at one, I looked at the library and we calculated the rate
It
was
was
like
very
30
high.
cents a kilowatt, which is a very high rate.
How much would
The
you want it-
aggregator was cheaper, but I don't know if anybody, I don't think we've taken it on. I wouldn't try to apply any savings to that right now.
No, but I'm just
We
saying
can-
they should do it because that can help them with, you know.
Yeah, I don't mind if we get, after we get through the budget, I'll take a look at all of it, make sure it's
yeah,
consistent
okay.
across all buildings, and then we can decide what the options are.
Electricity by.
Not a lot. It'll be, it's like 15, it's like $2,000. It was
The town.
significant. It was like $2,000 or $3,000,
The
right,
town.
Frank?
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, it's maybe
Right.
1 or 2 grand. I don't know what the consumption are at the other buildings, so I don't,
Okay, and insurance we
So-
talked about, consistency, that's on, quasis is on, fire we talked about, structure. Yeah, everything on my list is talked about. That's pretty amazing.
Anything you want us to talk about further? Okay.
Anything you don't want us to talk about, but we should.
Anything else for you, Mickey? Otherwise, I'm going to propose that we adjourn the meeting.
Anything you don't want us to talk about, but we should. That's fine,
I
you know,
just
so-
would like copies of the, I was
Yeah. The copy that she actually just took it, that was for Mickey.
Oh, I have 2 copies?
The one that I had sitting on the, she wrote all over it, so I'll print
Well,
it.
sorry, I didn't print it.
we could just run off a copy out there.
Sorry, I
And
thought it was me.
the notice from, you got stuff from David at Unibank?
I don't have it on me, yes, but
Okay, and just every time we do a budget, should have a date on it. Where is it?
so it does when I email it to you.
Yes, but that's not the point, because in the, it's about the printing. I mean, you gotta put it
We
in
are trying to
embedded.
not waste paper and not.
It's not about
print.
embedding. You can,
Okay,
you have to
just
look
say,
at 5 pages. I don't print out the whole thing anymore.
You don't
I do.
You don't, because you're always like, where is that? Where can I find that information?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you click on that tab, you'll see
No,
it.
a lot of times I have it right away. I'm like, that number and that number, but today. I
oh,
don't really
Frank, I'm going to
shovel.
make a motion that we
Bobby.
adjourn this meeting so that you can go out in the street life.
I'm
Yeah.
going out on the street,
Eat a
live
po' boy.
music and good food tonight.
How
Where
about,
are you gonna eat?
Pardon me?
Do you know where you're going?
I don't know where we're going. We have a very good friend and we just go where they take us.
oh, that's the best.
Perfect.
Yeah. Don't have to think about it.
Great,
And we haven't
Well-
been disappointed yet.
Yeah, that's great.
love it.
All right.
All right.
All right, so I'm making a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Finance Committee. Second, please.
Second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done. Yes. And I did not present any minutes tonight, but we will next week.
Have a good
next
day.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Next week, I have a little conflict, but this is my question for Melissa. Is there a room I could use at like 5 o'clock? Because I have to do a speaking presentation at 5 o'clock, so I can go home and do it. Then I have to leave early. I could just go someplace else in the town hall. and
Well,
do it.
why don't we just figure that, as always, our meetings will end by 5.
But I have to be on the program by 5, so I probably have to leave at 1:45, get
Start a
home.
little earlier.
That's what I'm
There
saying.
may be, but I can't say for sure if someone's using, I'm gonna print you off.
She's gonna print you guys
Because she
off.
wrote all over them.
But I read